A very good morning and welcome to Oberhof for the start of the 2012-2013 Tour de Ski. Well, the weather conditions are pretty typical for Oberhof. The fog has been hovering around, the temperature, as you can see, just above freezing, but they've gone to huge lengths to get the snow prepared for the races. Now, just a reminder, the Tour de Ski probably the hardest phase of the season by a long margin, and that includes the World Championships. And we started off today with the Prologue, and this is perhaps the hardest distance to race. Mike, we've seen plenty of sprints, just over a kilometre. We've seen 50-kilometre races, but the 3.1 for the women is a real test of pacing.
It is. The only saving grace is look at the high point. There is some recovery to attack that final 400.
Wie bitte? Ja.
Welcome to Oberhof, and this a really exciting phase of the season. The cross-country Tour de Ski about to get underway. We're going to start it off with the women's prologue today. The men go pretty much as soon as the women have finished. We've only got a 10-minute break in between the two races. Nervous moments, Mike, for all the athletes. They know that over the next 9 days they're going to put their body through something pretty exceptional.
They really are, and tested in terms of, well, today, and that you can sense the nerves more so than normal today, even up there with Olympic competition. It's a 3.1 kilometres. As you said earlier, it's a difficult distance, and everyone's nerves. They've had this little break at Christmas, 12 days. Obviously, they've been training, and really they know today's important to get a good time, and clearly to win the race you get an extra 15 seconds. Second place gets 10, third place 5.
Yeah, and the huge World Cup points at the end. 400 points for the winner of the Tour de Ski, which pretty much sets them on the way to winning the overall World Cup at the end of the season. Doesn't always turn out that way, but it has been fairly influential. And of course, the biggest news just before we see Irina Kazava start her run is that Marit Bjrgen, who has desperately wanted to win this one for so long, has had to withdraw. We'll discuss that as the race gets underway. But Marit Bjrgen is out, and surely that hands a free ticket to Justyna Kowalczyk to make it 4 Tour de Ski titles in succession.
That would be incredible, but does it? There are names out there who really want this overall title as well.
So Kazava is underway, and a good crowd in this Oberhof stadium. They love their winter sport. This is really where the East Germans did all their training. So many of the top East German athletes came from this part of Germany, and we're going to see some fairly enthusiastic supporting throughout the weekend. And of course we'll be back not long from now for the Biathlon World Cup races as well, and we're expecting 40,000 passionate fans to turn up for that.
Well, it's an interesting comparison, as Eichhorn, Teresa, 20-year-old, first World Cup for her. It's an interesting comparison. The biathlon will have 45,000 spectators around the track. Today it's good, it's very good. There's about 7,000 to 10,000 come up to the stadium to view it, but the biathlon does appear to draw the crowds into the Thuringen Stadium.
I think there are another 7,000 lost in the mist somewhere, because really these TV pictures do not tell you exactly how bad it is. The cameras work wonders to pick up the athletes, but the visibility is desperately poor, and I'm not sure that they could hold a biathlon race today anyway. So no rifles involved. This is just about cross-country skiing. 7 races in 9 days. It's a stage shorter than we've had in previous years, and I think the organisers, Mike, have been a little bit concerned that if you give the Tour de Ski 100%, there's no way you can last through to the end of the season.
And I think taking 1 day out of the programme, yes, it's not a big deal. It's not a huge amount in terms of racing, but psychologically, and with the World Championships, of course, this year, there wasn't a World Championships last year. I think it's a sensible adjustment to this Tour de Ski programme.
Célia Ammonier for France in the familiar French suit. By now there was quite a lot of resistance to it when it was first introduced, but now it's an old favourite. Elisabeth Schicot for Germany. The Germans, I guess, hoping that Denise Harriman can do something special. She's pretty good. She's good at these prologue distances as well. And Denise Harriman is one of the seeds, so she goes off number 60 in just under half an hour's time. So it's going to be quite a long stage. Now, one other thing that's changed, Mike, the starting time, the starting interval used to be 15 seconds for the early runners, just to get them all out on the tracks, and then they spaced it out for the seeds, but they've gone for a different format, 30 seconds in between, and then instead of sending all the seeds off together, they've put them alternate and put some of the lower seeds in between the big names.
Yeah, it's a strange season as well. When you look at the seeded group, there are some unusual names in there, names we wouldn't expect because of the 2 World Cups going over to Canada, and a lot of the big names deciding to step away from those 2 World Cups. So Keller, for example, not in the seeded group. Unusual.
Yeah, Sweden don't have anyone in the seeded group, which may be deceiving. In fact, you will have had a look at the odds for today's race. Charlotte Keller, I would imagine, has better odds than you might suspect.
Oh, she's certainly one of the favourites, one of the 3 favourites for this one today. Of course, Marit Bjrgen not being here really does, I think, allow some of certainly the younger Norwegians, give them a bit of a lift, a spirit to possibly win this whole thing and challenge Justyna Kowalczyk.
Olga Kuzyakova. Well, the Russian women have been doing okay recently. The Russian men are top of the Nations Cup standings at the moment after some fine performances in Kosovo and, of course, over in the United States as well. So be interesting to see if any of the Russians can depose Dario Colonia of Switzerland, who's also won the Tour de Ski 3 times. He'll be in action in just over an hour's time. Well, here's the big climb. Remember, it takes you up to the halfway stage, and I think we can safely say that the fastest time at the top of this hill will not win the race today. It's that sort of a course, and even Colonia was saying it's a short distance, it's not much more than a sprint, but the pacing is so much more important than in sprinting.
It really is, and if you fry yourself up this first section, of course the women have done 300 metres, you mentioned earlier, extra on this course to this point. They just had to go round the stadium another little 300 metres. So again, it's vital that the pacing is correct here. 4:36, it won't be the fastest. I think we'll see a good 6 seconds taken off this time of Kasova.
Well, just having a look at the intermediate time, last year's Prologue, of course, won by Justyna Kowalczyk in some style ahead of Marit Bjrgen. Those two just 0.4 of a second apart, and that's why it's such a shame that Marit Bjrgen isn't here. The intermediate time, 4:06 for Kowalczyk. How does that compare?
Well, at the moment, Kazova's gone through in 4:36, and I think that's, of course, the extra 300 metres in the stadium. This corner, as the race goes on, is going to become a little more tricky, but it was icy yesterday. Speaking to Roy Young, manager of the British team, saying it was really difficult and choppy and lumpy around that tight bend yesterday. They've fixed that today.
Well, as we watch Kasova on her way, let's have a chat about Marit Bjrgen. This, of course, is Ammonia, who we picked up on earlier on. Marit Bjrgen, Mike, skiing fantastically well in the early part of the season, decided to miss out on the United States and Canada purely to prepare for the Tour de Ski, and then an absolutely huge shock for her and the Norwegian fans, the fact that she was out training and suddenly she had what I guess you'd call an abnormal heart rate, much higher than usual. I don't know whether it was like atrial fibrillation or what. We're not quite sure on the details, but always a frightening occasion when your heart doesn't do what it should do. Firstly, it shows you how closely the Norwegians monitor themselves.
Oh, definitely, and it was interesting. It was on Christmas Eve as well. She just completed her second training session, and then she just felt these irregular heartbeats, much elevated from normal, and that is so scary for any top-class athlete.
So you think she's done the right thing? She's actually been cleared to race again. They've had every doctor in Norway checking her out, and she's been on all sorts of cardiometers over the last 10 days or so.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying that she's coming back mid-January, I believe, so clearly they're happy.
I think the initial instruction was you can train, but do not stress the body, and there's no greater stress than the Tour de Ski, so she had no option really, and that's a real shame, because she'd set her mind on winning the one thing that she has yet to win, and that, of course, is the Tour de Ski.
Well, as athletes, you know, there are highs and there are lows, and Bjrgen stated so clearly it's the one she hasn't won was the Tour de Ski. She must be very disappointed, and she will be watching this right now, and thinking if only, but better to be safe with the health.
Yep, and so it does mean that Justyna Kowalczyk, who's going to be the last away, is now hot favourite to win. Might think she can be beaten. I think the only person who might beat her is Keegan Randall.
Definitely, Keegan has the sprint which you need. You need the power in the short races, but has she got the long range, the distance, as the days go on? I hope she has.
Well, I certainly hope she's got enough to challenge, but I think if you want to beat Kowalczyk, you've got to be 2 minutes ahead of her going into the last day of the tour, because Kowalczyk is out and out superior on that climb, except perhaps for Steyr of Norway.
I think just looking down as well, Heidi Weng, you know, she has shown a lot of improvement this season. She's a sprinter, she can handle the distance, she's proved that in the majors as well.
Well, let's get back to the race. The first starter is already across the line. 8 minutes 12 her time, as you can see, and the winning time last year 7:03. So it's added at least a minute, maybe 50 seconds for the best. But that extra 300 meters, that would make sense. Just around 50 seconds added to their total time. Kasper will have to wait and see just how good that is. Starting second was Eichhorn of Germany, who's coming into the home straight now, and consequently the crowd giving her some support.
Well, Eichhorn knows this track better than most. 24.5, disappointing. But, well, at the age of 20, I think that is a good performance. Probably the winning time will be about 8 to 10 seconds faster than Kazova at the moment.
Looks like a fairly good time from Cecilia Amonier. We'll try and pick up on her time, and she won't be far over the 8-minute marker at the finish. Amonier 7:42 in fact, so she's broken that 8-minute barrier by some margin, so that's the fastest so far. Amonier leading from Kolomina of Kazakhstan, Kazova of Russia now pushed down into third. Well, that's encouraging stuff for the French, and maybe they're hoping that Fèvre Pisson, who goes off number 23, can do something. Up to the top of the climb for Sandra Ringwald of Germany. German women, Mike, never really hit the heights that the German men achieved in the late 90s.
No, they haven't. Denise Harriman, who goes off today, slightly further back down, bib number 60. I think she's now the leading light, the next generation of German cross-country skiers. Of course, Evie Sackenbacher, who was one of the best at this time last year, has changed to becoming a biathlete at well, the late stage in her career at 31-year-old. This is good technical skiing here. There's a lot of strength through the mid, the centre of the body. She's not moving or wasting too much upper body energy. All the flow is going through the edges of the skis.
What would you say to the fact that, or my observation, that quite a good lot of knee flexion at the start of the drive, but she never actually straightens the leg completely, so she's not going through the full motion. If you watch the top skiers, there's a lot of flexion in the knee and the ankle, but at the end of the drive, both of those joints are absolutely fully extended, and the toes are pushing as well, just to get that little bit more dynamism.
I think you're right. I think after that dynamism, you've got, if you create this explosive blast, then it straightens the leg and it allows a fraction longer recoveries as well. But when your body's poisoned with lactic and you're pushing hard, hey,
yeah, it's easy to talk about.
Yeah, it is.
Not so easy to keep doing at the top of that big climb. Now, Korostoleva. We're getting towards the big names here in Oberhof.
It's a real battle from start to finish, every second as usual, so important. But in these short races, 7.5-minute races, it seems to magnify those. Every little push, every little double pole action, every little kick off the edges of the skis.
Ammonia still leading, but France now have 1 and 2. That's a good run by Caroline Hug. And she's just 0.8 of a second outside. These initial stages of the Tour de Ski, they're not vital. They're a good bonus seconds, 60 bonus seconds for the winner today that will help them in the pursuit tomorrow. And but like, you know, you certainly can't say that if you win the first race, you're on course to win the Tour de Ski. It doesn't work like that.
Yes, 15 bonus seconds for the win today. And often as the Tour de Ski has evolved from its, and I think it's a great addition to the cross-country programme over the last 8 years, and often it's loaded to the best. If you win this race today, you're given that cushion tomorrow to start out ahead, or at least 5 seconds ahead of the person that's taken second place, at least 5 seconds, that is. I think it's going to be close today. Well, top three are going to be within, 4 seconds at least.
Yeah, and if Kowalczyk wins today and gets a 15-second lead over some of her big rivals, you wouldn't expect to see her hanging back to join the pack and then make a move at the end. She'll go from the gun to try and capitalise on the lead she's got. If Petter Northug wins this afternoon, later on today in the men's prologue, you certainly wouldn't expect him to go for gold from the line. He'll drop back into the pack and then make a fast finish.
So I believe absolutely on with that. And but Kowalczyk is the most unusual strong athlete. She's so headstrong, she doesn't mind the fight. She doesn't mind going out on her own and trying to break the rest.
Nice technical skiing from Mia Eriksson. We'll take a quick break here at the early stages of the prologue. We'll be back with all the big names. This is Sandra Ringvald, who's, in fact, this is Aurore Gien, who's just finished her run and put another of the French into the top 5. So they've had a very good early run. But remember, none of the French team getting into the seeds. Same with the Swedes. They don't have anyone in those top seeded positions. But don't read too much into that. Even at this stage of the season, Mike, with 9 races complete, we haven't really got an idea of who's on form, except for Kowalczyk, because so many of them missed out on the American Tour to save themselves for the next 7-8 days.
It's an interesting season in the fact that just prior to Christmas, one of the World Cups went to Canada, and of course, well, 2, sorry, of course, the east coast of Canada, then over west to Canmore and Calgary. And I think the coaches who decided to take some of their top players away from the stress of that travel, the jet lag, I think that's sensible, given that there's the Tour de Ski and then the World Championships.
So what do you think the main issue was? Was it the racing, as we watched Kroster-Lever going through the 1.7, and she's got a 1.7 lead as well? Not a bad start from Kroster-Lever. We'll see if she gets stronger. She's got the experience, knows how to attack a course like this, and nice to see her attacking the first bit of the downhill, Mike. So easy just to relax as you hit the downhill slope.
Oh, the brain is saying so much. Okay, right, I'm working to the top of this hill. Okay, give me a break. But you do have to go at least 10 metres, 15 metres over the top of the next rise. She really put the brakes on there, Patrick, coming into the tight right-hander.
Yeah, a little bit of a Stem Christie coming in. Not the sort of style that we're used to seeing on the cross-country trails, and it might have cost her a few seconds. It might have gained her time. Charlotte Keller underway, former winner of the Tour de Ski, and she's got bittersweet memories of this event. Of course, you won that Tour in 2008, but then that ruined her chances for the rest of the season and the following season. I don't think she fully recovered from that for 3 or 4 years, Mike.
It seems that way. She was very young to win this incredible challenge, day upon day of constant pushing. And you're right, she hasn't really. She's had 3 victories in the World Cups, but we expected more when she won this at the first chance.
Number 34, Charlotte Keller, is on the tracks. Number 35 is away. But Riikka Saarisoja of Finland, number 36, is the first of the seeded group, the red group as they are known. Quite why Charlotte Keller isn't in that. It's hard to believe, isn't it, Mike? Because she has to be one of the favourites for a top 3. I'm not sure she's in the sort of shape to beat Kowalczyk, but she might be quite glad she's gone early, because look at the snow conditions rounding that particular corner.
Well, do you know, as we watched Charlotte Keller, that's the easiest part of the section. She's such a brilliant technical skier. She floats over this very soggy wet. If you can imagine Kowalczyk later, it's all strength based. And I think this is going to be a very good day for Charlotte Kalla.
Yeah, she's working hard at the moment. No one else has pushed the pace quite as heavily as she has in the early stages. Looks good at going onto the left ski. A little heavy, perhaps, going onto the right ski. It's not a symmetrical technique there from Kalla.
But when we see her next, you mentioned that flick of energy from the lower leg, and Kalla really does show us the explosive kick, the transfer of weight so well.
Well, we just got a little glimpse of Fiona Hughes of Great Britain going through there. Good tempo, really good attacking style. I haven't seen her ski quite as positively as that for a long time. So I hope that we're going to see something good from her. She's got number 35. My goodness, has she got some big names starting just after her. Sarah Sawyer, we've mentioned. Shakalova goes number 38. Elizabeth Stephen, one of an up-and-coming American team. Now, everyone keen to see how the Americans, they've got 7 on the tour this year. They're absolutely buzzing, living in the same area as the British, and you know what the Americans like normally, but when they're on a high, my goodness, you know about it.
Spirits, and quite right, the spirits need to be high. Kicking Randall in second place overall, and she really has brought this young American team forward with confidence and belief.
Yeah, Diggins, Stephen, all skiing very well, and they expect to do something pretty good over the recent weeks. But Korosteleva, 2.3 outside, 3rd position for her, so getting the Russians back into the podium positions. But it's still France 1 and 2. 7:42.9. Now, Caroline Huger seems to have had an adjustment on the time, Mike, and has gone ahead of Celia Armonia, having been put in second place initially. But let's have a look at the intermediate times, because that's the first indication we're going to get from some of the big names. Number 32, you might recognise Ina Kaiser Saarinen, who's had a great history in this event. 4:25 and 3.7 outside the best. That will do nicely for now.
It's a good start, very good start for Saarinen. Athlete of the Year in Finland when she was at her best in Liberec, 2009, the World Championships there, 3 golds and a bronze. She hasn't really lived up to that fantastic World Championship since then.
Now, Charlotte Kalla started really hard. I wonder what her intermediate time. What's your money on Mike coming through that 1.7?
I would think that she's about 4.16. At least, maybe lower, 4.15, 4.16. Hard to tell, just purely going on her attack.
4.19.4, the leading time from Riitta-Liisa Rouponen of Finland at the moment. Here she comes. This is good. It's very good. We thought she was quick out of the stadium, and she's taken 5.6 out of the fastest. But I certainly wouldn't, if I was Swedish, I wouldn't start celebrating quite yet, Mike, because her performance at the top of the hill wasn't quite as sparky as it was at the bottom.
She was really dynamic earlier, but then she knows that this high point, push yourself, punish yourself to this point, and you've got this long recovery before the final attack. Oh, she's slowing down.
My goodness, a snowplow followed by a stem, Christy. That's not the sort of style, but she set herself up for a really good line through that right-hand turn. Not the cleanest exit we've ever seen, so a few fractions of that gain that she's made have gone missing.
No disrespect to Justina Kowalczyk, but I think that the way we saw Kalla take that corner, she will have gained about a second and a half on what Kowalczyk's going to give us later.
We'll see. I think Kowalczyk is a much improved technical skier this year. She's still nowhere near the best, but I thought in Canmore we saw some pretty good skiing from her on some technical turns.
Without a doubt, the easiest part to improve on. It's not hard physical endurance training, it's just easy technical skiing. These corners are easy money to improve on.
That's easy to say, Mike, but we all like doing what we're good at and hate doing what we're bad at.
It's so true, and you need good coaching to guide you to not doing what you love most and doing your working on your weaker areas, which obviously aren't the ones you enjoy doing.
It would take a month to get a second off Kowalczyk's hill climbing time over 200 metres. It would take you 5 minutes to get a second off her cornering time. That is how important it is. But year on year, we've seen her let herself down, and maybe last year those falls that she took at the end of the season mean that over the summer months she's been on the glaciers and focusing on that.
It's interesting you say being on the glaciers. She certainly has, and not just that, but down in New Zealand, and only 25 days after her knee operation in May, she was back on the glacier on the Dachstein, putting in the miles, putting in the practice.
Kristoffersen of Norway gets a respectable time. That will do nicely. She won't get any bonus seconds for that performance, but she'll be reasonably close to the front at the start of tomorrow's pursuit. And talking of that, we ought to just run through the programme while we're waiting for some of the big guns to approach. We've got the pursuit tomorrow. The women only going over 9Ks, the men over 15. Sprints on Tuesday. They're the only pure sprint of the Tour de Ski. Thursday we have the long distance race, 15 kilometres for women and 35 kilometre for men. And then that, of course, is in Dobiaco, up the long climb. That's where Dario Colonia has sealed his victory pretty much in the last 3 years. And then another classic distance race over the Prologue distance on the Friday. Saturday, a long distance classic. And then finally on Sunday, the 6th of January, the hill climb.
Well, Saarinen, we're looking at her. She started so well, but some 10.5 seconds off Ruppinen's lead time, her teammate up there. But surely this is going to be the new lead time from Kala. She started aggressively. She's trying to finish aggressively. It's good. It's very good.
6.2 clear, 5.6 clear at the intermediate, remember, so she still took time out of some of the best in the closing stages. So good work from Charlotte Kalla. She's back and means business. Well, we've still got some 24 athletes to cross the start line, even though Charlotte Kalla, one of the biggest names, has finished her challenge. Nicole Fessel knows exactly what she has to do now. 7:32.5 is the leading time. Now, we mentioned last year's winning time over a course 300 metres short of 7:03. But if we look back over previous years, Mike, 6:35, 6:39 in decent conditions. So I think this 7:32 is probably about right.
I think so. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if the way that Kalla attacked this course, it wouldn't surprise me if her time is going to be the time that remains to the end as the best. Germans looking good. Zeller just beginning to suffer with the early attack. We saw her flying out of the stadium. You can see the reach up there. She's compressing on the right side through the arm, through the ski, and then trying to lift the right knee, the right foot as far into a hill as possible as she transfers the weight across. Now getting the energy from the left leg now,
and also seems to be making a positive stamp down of the foot to reduce the resistance on the ski, get it gliding well from the instant that it touches the snow. So interesting technique there from number 44, Katrin Zeller. Germany only have Denise Harriman still to go. She starts number 60 today. Zeller through the 1.7. She's outside the pace of the best, 15.6 seconds. That's quite a margin. 100 metres or so behind the best skiers, and she's going to struggle to make up that. But if she can get back 5 seconds, it will put her in the mix in tomorrow's pursuit. Everyone's starting to control the pace coming into this S-bend.
It's a deceptive corner though, Patrick. As we look up that straight, it's much steeper than it appears on the pictures here. You really are about 55, 60 and more kilometers an hour coming into that very tight right-hander.
This is Elizabeth Stephen of USA. A lot of people interested to see how they get on today, and a time 15 seconds outside. That's reasonable. Down into 12th position at the moment. World Cup points on offer for today's race, but they're halved compared to the normal World Cup races. It's just called a stage tour, or a tour stage, I should say. And so 50 points for the winner, and then at the end of the Tour de Ski on not tomorrow, but the following Sunday, of course, the winner of the Tour picks up 400 World Cup points. So if you win all the stages, plus you get the overall win, which you would do, you can take 750 points away from 7 days of racing.
And really to win this, and with Marit Bjrgen not being here, what is wrong with the left pole? As she lost the basket, she keeps slipping, or the energy there, she keeps lifting her left pole
yeah, but
onto
look
the
how
ski
close.
practically.
Look how close she is planting that left basket to the left ski. I think on a couple of occasions she's clipped the binding with the basket.
That's unusual. The repetitions have been millions of that technique, and to overreach in a race scenario, strange.
Number 58 is Krista Lahtenmäki of Finland, and the Finns a good record in the Tour de Ski.
Well, they absolutely have. Of course, the first couple of tours taking the victory. And I think Lahtenmäki, she's certainly up there for my top 4, top 5 this time round in the Tour de Ski.
Fessel 4:33.9, and struggling a little. Diggins has gone through for the USA, just slightly outside. Now a change of basket, so the coach is very, very sharp to pick up that there was a problem, and the poles switched over. So we might be able to find out later on exactly what was wrong there, Mike. I wonder whether it was just slightly shorter.
Well,
or of course the tungsten tip had come out.
Possibly. There is ice under this with all the rain. There was a metre of snow here, but it was reduced to ice, so maybe...
I've got it.
You've got it.
Yeah, the basket has spun round 180 degrees and therefore ineffective on the poling action.
I think you're right.
We might go for that.
I hope we get another slow motion of that. And it seemed it was so unusual for a top-class athlete to have an issue with the planting off her left non-lead side pole.
Nice skiing from Hannah Kolb, who finds herself in good company at the start of this race. She's not one of the seeds, but she started amongst them because of the system that they now use. Really good technical skiing. She's been on these tracks many, many times, and she shows it here today. Little loss of balance, but no loss of speed, and that, of course, is what is crucial. Maybe a little bit wide on the exit, but stays low throughout. Now to Ingvald Flugstad Osterberg, and the big blow to the Norwegians, of course, the absence of Marit Bjrgen. But when Bjørgen's away, well, the rest have an opportunity to show what they can do. And Osterberg is certainly one of them. I've got a sneaky feeling we're going to see something really good from Heidi Weng. We've got Teresa Hawk, whose season has still been pretty good, 2 top 2 finishes, but she's yet to show the sort of consistency she had last year. And so we'll see how she gets on. And of course, Kristin Stormer-Steyr.
Yeah, Stormer-Steyr certainly on the final climb, and Johaug on the final day has won that stage 3 separate times, and on one of those occasions taking 52 seconds off anybody else.
I know you've finally got the memory cells going, Mike. Of course, Finland's #1 Tour de Ski athlete, Virpi Koitinen.
Yeah. How could we forget? Yeah. It's the Christmas period, I think. Of course, she won it a couple of times.
Here is Heidi Weng. Such good form up in Kuusamo for the Nordic opening. And I think that's crucially important because it will have given her the confidence to attack races such as this. She now knows that she's capable of finishing in the top 3. And if you do that often enough, surely a victory will come your way soon enough. So Heidi Weng out on the course as we watch Nicole Fessel heading towards the finish. Just 8 more athletes to start here in Oberhof, and the mist is getting thicker and thicker. If it goes on like this, I'm not sure we're going to see the men in action later on. Might be an opportunity for a shortcut. It's that thick.
It's so typical of this area, and well, when the World Championships biathlon came here, they had to bring in so many tens of thousands of wattage of light to help through this fog. Fessel will be disappointed with that, Patrick. 25.6 seconds behind.
That's going to seem an eternity, and then bear in mind that the winner will get another 15 seconds, so she's going to be at least 40 seconds off the starting time of whoever goes first tomorrow. So that's a massive, massive margin when you think that it's only a 9-kilometre race. Kolb of Germany, well, she gets a little bit closer, but not much. 23.6 the margin for her. What about the intermediate times, Mike? Any movers and shakers there, or is Charlotte Callas still the quickest?
Charlotte Callas looking really safe there. 5.6 seconds at the top of the big climb. I thought Latinmaki would challenge her, but she's 15.6 seconds behind at the top of the hill. But I think Heidi Weng will challenge that time. And of course, Teresa Hawk.
Teresa Hawk, who was one of the big three last year, but nearly always finishing in third position. But she's had a few wins. She's, of course, still got a world title to her name over the 30 kilometres. Freestyle is very much her style. And, well, high tempo, 100% effort all the way. One of the most exciting cross-country skiers on the circuit. And she has absolute armies of fans up in Norway.
She has. Denise Harriman there taking a wise race line. She's over to the right side of the track where it's, look at that, very clever racing there. It's harder on the right-hand side and the left-hand side.
Now, can we read into the fact that she's doing that the tracks are getting slower and slower, and therefore Charlotte Callas with a slightly bigger advantage than we might have appreciated earlier on?
It maybe is, Patrick. I mean, they've all been out prior to the race testing their skis. This corner, I would say, is a little faster because it's certainly turning, it's getting pushed away, and it's a slightly faster exit.
Yeah, so all the fresh snow's been pushed off the course, and underneath we have all the artificial snow that was laid down at the beginning of the season to make sure that the conditions were good enough for these World Cup races. They had 70 centimetres of snow, yes, 70 centimetres of snow just prior to Christmas. But in the last week, 45 centimetres of that have melted away to fill the rivers down below the town. And, well, there was a little bit of panic going on, but they knew, because of the fact they laid down the artificial snow early on, which has a slightly higher water content and therefore a little bit more icy once it's got compacted. I think they were fairly safe. Now, what about Heidi Weng? Right, dressed as if she's off to the desert.
It's nearly plus 2 degrees here, but well, fair enough, she's got to look after herself for a week. But this is a very good start from Heidi Weng, and I think it's, well, she's going to be one of the few athletes to challenge Charlotte Callas today.
Yeah, look at the focus on her face. That's really determined skiing from her. She's going for the Johaug technique of keeping the tempo nice and high.
This is good. This is really good challenge, and I think that Kilonen as well, the Finn we saw out in the track, she's going to be coming up this climb soon. Maybe challenging Callas as well at the high point. Heidi Weng getting all the information, and it's so crucial. She's just picked up the tempo there, so I wonder if she was just a couple of seconds behind. In fact, it's much more than that. Way, way off the pace. I'm surprised, really surprised.
Well, I'm starting to think that the tracks are deteriorating because Weng is a better athlete than that, and she finds herself 17 seconds down. Latinmaki across the line, 15.5, and it's all looking very good for Sweden and Charlotte Callas at the moment. There's one woman who might be able to turn our predictions on our heads, or maybe two. Randall, who goes 72, and of course Justyna Kowalczyk, who is the last away. So finally the final starter is underway, and Justyna Kowalczyk of Poland starts her bid to become 4-time Tour de Ski champion. Odds-on favourite to achieve that, and what a remarkable achievement it would be if she keeps it going. She's still got 7 races to complete, and she's got to be the first to the top of the Alpe d'Huez. So there's a lot of work to do, and I wonder, and actually, if you were going to write the script, Mike, you'd like her to lose 30-40 seconds today to make the Tour even harder.
I don't think that's possible. Maybe you're right. These conditions possibly are changing with Callas start number 34 and Ruppinen start number 33, who's up there as well in the top 5.
Well, that's not bad from Denise Harriman, though, Mike. She was 10 seconds off the pace going through 1.7. She's finished just 14 seconds down. So she's had a very good run indeed. And she finds herself, in fact, 4.9 behind. So she finds herself in second place behind Charlotte Keller and pushing Ropinen of Finland down into third. Here comes Teresa Hawk. She'll be quick on the climb.
I'm wondering, Patrick, the coach wasn't running alongside. I'm wondering, you see the spectators here, they're cheering, they're shouting. It's so hard to hear any split timings on this course.
9.1 behind. That is a big surprise. And I think if they'd started off together, Charlotte Keller wouldn't have got anything like that sort of a margin over Teresa Hawk.
Into the tuck position. She's not going like Teresa Harriman was over to the right side of the track on that climb or even on the first part of the descent. Really slowing her pace down into the corner and round the corner.
No option of slow power on the lower section, drifting a little bit wide. So ropey technique from the Norwegian, and maybe half a second thrown away as we go back to Anne Kloinen of Finland, fourth in the World Cup standings at the moment. Got a personal best in a skiathlon out in Canada at the end of the North American tour, and great to see her on the podium. And maybe the resurgence of the Finnish cross-country ski team. How's her pace at the 1.7? She's outside and outside by 12.1. Work to do.
I love the way that Kyllönen, no matter what, keeps it so ice cool, so relaxed. I think she can pick this up. We saw Harriman pick up, 5 seconds from the halfway point.
First shot of Keegan Randall. She was trying to do a little bit of interviewing of some of the big names like Emil Jonsson, Anna Haag over the last couple of days, and I think she found it a little bit harder than skiing. But she's a big personality and very popular on the tour, and I think that has to help when you spend so much of your time away from home.
It does, and interesting, she invited a number of athletes over to Alaska in the summer to train. Saarinen was one of those athletes, and this is a great time from Randall.
Wow, 0.4 outside. That's a real threat to Charlotte Keller. And the Americans will be pinning their hopes on Keegan Randall. Great start from her. 66 coming in towards the finish. Kristin Stormer-Stera. Now, she wasn't so quick at the intermediate. Outside the top 10 times. We'll try and pick out exactly where she was. Down in 11th position. 10.8 outside. And that margin has grown, but not by too much. 8th place, no bonus seconds, but close enough to the front to have a chance of taking the lead in the tour come the end of tomorrow's pursuit.
Interesting, I'm just looking at the temperature, Patrick. It was 1.6 degrees plus at the beginning of the race. It's down to 1 degree. Now that 0.6 of a degree, it doesn't sound much, but I think the run-in, I would agree it's softer on the climb on the way out, but I think the run-in home is marginally faster, not much.
But the temperature down the bottom of the course and that tricky corner, we'll just pick up on Kowalczyk going through 7 seconds outside. Now, she does not like soft, slushy conditions. That's exactly what she's got here today. But don't write her off quite yet, because she is capable of a work rate that I think no one else can achieve. It's not the classic, that's her forte. The freestyle's never been her favourite, and that's the one bit of the course we wanted to see her on. 7 seconds down at the moment. We'll be able to find out exactly what happens on the corner when we look at the next split time. 12.8 outside for Johaug.
Surprising, she's not a renowned sprinter. She's a lot better this year than she has been in the past. She's worked on that in the summer. I wish we'd get back to the sharp right-hand bend, but of course Kowalczyk's got rounded already. Teresa Hawk. Just 10, 11 seconds off the pace. 12.8 in fact.
Now Johaug might do okay tomorrow in the pursuit. She won't enjoy Tuesday's sprint. She'll lose time there to the leaders. But then after Tuesday, and when she heads to the long distance race on Thursday, that's where we might see her coming into her own. Now, how has Keegan Randall gone in the closing stages? She's gone blasting past Vesna Fabian who started 30 seconds in front of her. So that was a big boost. Always nice to be catching the athlete in front of you. Whoever it is, doesn't matter who it is, it gives you a boost.
Quite amazing, this performance from Kickin Randall. She's got the information. She's only 0.4 of a second off Kala's lead time at the top of the hill, and she's got the advantage with getting the good information. Looking so strong, though. She doesn't waste any energy in these moves.
Well, nice to hear that there's a lone voice out there supporting her. I think well, the Germans do tend to be fairly partisan in this part of the world, and you can't blame them. They've had a huge amount of success over the years. But look at this time. Sensational run. 7:28.1, the new lead time. And having been just down on Charlotte Kalla at the 1.7, she's taken a further 5 seconds out of the Swede in the closing stages. She means business.
Oh, that was superb. The focus there was just so clear to see, and the determination. That's incredible. And I think that latter part of the course, it may well work for Kristina here. Kowalczyk slightly faster, but it's very marginal.
Well, the temperature down at the bottom of the course we can assume is maybe a degree colder than in the stadium where the thermometer is. So it might be down at 0, it might be minus 0.5, and that certainly will make the bottom part of the course faster. If it has done, then Kowalczyk might have been able to pull back some of that 7 seconds. She started a full minute behind Kickin Randall, and she looks to be in touch at the moment. The time that she's after, 7:28.1. Watch the clock, and it's gone. So she's outside, but she's certainly undone some of the damage that was done early on. 4.7, so a gain of 3 seconds for Kowalczyk on the second half of the course, but not enough to take the win. Randall takes the win in the prologue here in Oberhof, ahead of Charlotte Kalla, a former Tour de Ski winner, and Justyna Kowalczyk, the star of the Tour de Ski with 3 consecutive victories already under her belt, gets 3rd place today.
And significantly tomorrow, that's only 5 seconds. She won the full 15 bonus seconds, but 3rd place it's 5, 2nd place 10, and for Kickin Randall, there she is, 15 seconds.
So that's 4 seasons in a row that Kowalczyk has finished in the top 3 in this prologue event here in Oberhof. And I think, although she hasn't won it as she did last year, I think she'll be pretty happy with the way things have gone, and must have been a little bit concerned when she got the time split at the 1.7.
She's so Kowalczyk, as we look at Randall, Kowalczyk so nearly put herself ahead of Kalla. She's only, what, 3/10 of a second behind at the end.
Well, there'll be some celebrations in Anchorage. Will they be up at this time of day? I think just rolling out of bed, maybe. And when they find out that Kickin Randall has taken the first stage of the tour, 50 World Cup points. We've spoken many times this season about the fact that it doesn't count as a World Cup win, but for her, it will be a World Cup win.
That's wonderful. And Kickin Randall, interestingly, she's one of the few athletes who have raced an Olympic Games in the city in which they were born. She was born in Salt Lake City. That was her first Olympics.
Good bit of trivia as we have a look at the top 10. So Randall, Kalla, Kowalczyk we know about. Denise Harriman, good run from her, and she got the crowd going, finishing in 4th place today. Ropenen, Jacobsen, Hug of France, the French outstanding with Hug and Cecilia Monnier, who's done very well, finished in the top 8. And Kristin Stormastera has also made the top 10 as we look a little lower down. Look at the margins on the right-hand side. Add 15 seconds to those times, and that's the margin behind Kickin Randall that they will start tomorrow because of those 15 bonus seconds for Randall for taking the win today. So a good start, Mike. Any major surprises for you?
Just looking at Teresa Hawk, 17 seconds off. She will claw this back, I think, tomorrow, or a lot off it back in the 9-kilometer classic. But surprising that she's down, Teresa down there in 12th, 15th place. 13th place. 17.2 seconds behind.
So the overall Tour de Ski standings exactly as they've been today, but now we see the bonus seconds awarded. Sorry, that was a little bit quick on the first page, but you can see there that Teresa Hawk is now some 30 seconds off the lead after just one event. And those margins can be closed, but you don't really want to be giving away any more than 30 seconds at this stage of the race. But congratulations to Keegan Randall. She's had an outstanding season already this year, and things are just getting better and better. And I think, Mike, it shows how important confidence is. There she is, sitting in second place in the overall World Cup. Would she have thought she'd be ahead of Marit Bjrgen at this stage? Of course she wouldn't.
Brilliant start for Keegan Randall, and the spirit that she has, the spirit the team has, maybe we'll see an American for the first time winning the Tour de Ski.
Kowalczyk might have something to say about that. Well, the first stage of the Tour de Ski is over for the women. The men are ready to go and should be underway in just over 20 minutes time. Justyna Kowalczyk takes third place in a race that she won last year. Looked to be a little bit of a struggle. The conditions certainly weren't kind to her, but Keegan Randall showed you that starting late was no disadvantage at all. Charlotte Keller, an early start to her because of the lack of racing that she's had so far this season. She's not in the seeded group, but she will be from now on. A fantastic run, second place, and the winner from 2008 could be one to watch out for this year. But a surprise winner? I don't think so. Keegan Randall has shown signs of brilliance many times this season, and going past Fabian Vesna of Slovenia, showing just how well the skis are working and how well she is working as well. Fantastic run from her, and a winning time of 7:28.1 over a course that's over 3 kilometers long. A fantastic effort, and good to see her at the top of the pile. She will be in the Tour Leaders bib tomorrow.
Congratulations, Keegan, on your first victory in the Tour de Ski. How does that feel?
Oh, it feels pretty hard right now. I still see them spend the effort a little bit, but it's a big accomplishment. I'm pretty happy.
And you will wear the leader's bib starting the race tomorrow. Does that add some extra pressure?
Oh, it's just unbelievable excitement. I mean, to be in this position is really, really fun, and I know I got a big target, so it'll be fun racing now for the next 6 days.
And with the leader's bib, you will try and stay up front tomorrow and maybe wear it for another day?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to, hang in there in the Classic and wait for the next skate day to have another strong one.
All right, congratulations. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well done to her indeed. Freestyle today, Classic tomorrow, freestyle in the sprint on Tuesday. Be interesting. Tomorrow really is Kowalczyk's day, Mike. 9 kilometers, Classic style. She's very rarely beaten over that sort of a distance. And even though she'll start over 15 seconds or about 15 seconds behind Keegan Randall, you feel that she'll close that gap down on the first big climb.
I think that will be Kowalczyk's strategy, but of course Keegan Randall, she's had a 4th this year up in Kusamo in a 10-kilometer Classic. She's no slouch, and her strategy, if Kowalczyk comes by, will be to hang on in there, if it's at all possible. But what a great day for the Americans, for Keegan Randall. What a great start to the Tour de Ski.
The winner presentation of the Fiesmann Tour de Ski Performance by Craft Sportswear 2012-2013. Stage number 1, the ladies' Prologue. Please welcome the winning athletes, and welcome to the bronze step of the podium representing Poland, Justyna Kowalczyk.
Well, she's used to being on the top step. Today she takes third, still looks pretty happy with that. No major mishaps. I think that had to be the way. Charlotte Keller, good to see her back on form. Tricky opening to the season, wasn't 100%, decided not to race up in Kusamo. Good to see her back, and obviously racing very well, racing aggressively. But what about Keegan Randall? Astonishing stuff. She led at the intermediate, and she's got the fastest time in the finish as well, 7:28, 4 seconds clear of Charlotte Keller. So she'll start tomorrow just under 10 seconds ahead of the Swede.
The German Ski Federation by Mr. Thomas Schulz.
So the bonuses today, Mike, won't make a huge amount of difference tomorrow, but if you look at the results of the Tour de Ski over the last 3 years, the bonuses have decided the winner.
They have. You need to be a good sprinter. You need to be efficient over these short prologues. It's so vital, or you really are left down there. And Kowalczyk with the sprint race on the first day, of course, going down to Val Mousterier for the sprint race. She'll need to be in the top 3 to keep the American Randall at bay this year.
So 3,000 Swiss francs for Keegan Randall for the win today. She'll get 1,000 Swiss francs for being the leader of the Tour, and maybe on her way to picking up the 90,000 Swiss francs that the winner of the Tour de Ski gets at the end of next week.
Not a bad week's work.
Not a bad week's work.
She won't be thinking of that now. She'll just be thinking, get back, stick to routine, get the massage in, get a decent food in, although 7 minutes race isn't going to deplete you much, but it does mentally and a little bit physically.
Well, they all look fairly healthy. Charlotte Keller, I think, looking better than she has done for some time, looking fighting fit. And tomorrow's pursuit is going to be very, very interesting indeed. So good race. Shame about the conditions, not easy. Congratulations to those who've been responsible for getting the tracks ready, because they've had a tough time of it. Masses of rain, just like there's been in the UK, and washing 45 centimetres of snow away. It was panic stations for a while, but considering that, Mike, the tracks aren't too bad, but certainly suits those who are both technically good and physically strong.
I think physically strong is the key. When it's as soft as this, you're not quite getting your balance on the skis the same. You're pushing your body weight so deep into the snow. Strength is a key factor, and these 3 ladies, well, have proved it today. They're the top of the pile. Denise Harriman, though, in 4th place. She's just, well, somewhat 4 seconds away from the Kowalczyk's time. I think that's an outstanding performance and a sign of great things to come from the young German.
And of course, we always look at the teams to see which team is doing particularly well. There's quite a good mix in the top 10. USA, Sweden, Poland, obviously. Germany, Finland, France are there as well, and the Russians. But only Yulia Shakalova of Russia has got into the top 10. She's down in 8th position. Very, very happy for the French. Hugo and Ammonia both making the top 10. And the Norwegians, as we would have expected, have a couple up there, but maybe surprised that Teresa Hawk is not in the top 10 at the moment. Well, there you see the sprint cut points, or the bonus seconds, in fact, awarded for today's top 3, 15, 10 and 5. Apologies if I misled you earlier on. You get 60 bonus seconds if you win the sprint, and that, of course, is the 3rd event on the Tour. And that can make a big difference if your main rivals don't pick up any bonus seconds in the sprint event. Teresa Hawk down there with 7 points for today's work. And there you see a shot of the snow conditions. Well, let's have a look at the programme. Of course, we know the men's race due off in just a few minutes' time, and really the men's tour, according to the press, is all about Dario Colonia and Petr Nortuk. I think the Russians might have other ideas. There you see the 4-kilometre race is next up, and we might have a few minutes of watts in between to go and recharge your mugs of tea or cups of coffee, whatever takes your fancy. And then, of course, the pursuits tomorrow. So no change of hotels tonight for the athletes, although, of course, multiple countries and, of course, different locations for the Tour. But it's nice for them to have 2 races in the same place. And a great day for Keegan Randall. Wins the Prologue in the Women's Tour de Ski. 6 stages still to go.